So we are up to way number 34, which is Ohev es ha-meisharim, loving the straight path. So the Torah teaches us that v'asisa hayashar v'hatayv be'enei Hashem. You should do what is straight and good in the eyes of the Lord. So Rashi says on this, or Sage Rashi says that this means going lifnim mishuras hadin, beyond the boundaries of what is straight, beyond the letter of the law. So while the previous way to wisdom, which was Oheves HaTzedakah, is loving the righteousness, the straight path, this is going above and beyond, kind of attacking the spirit of the law and not only the letter of the law. The Ramban, Nachmanides, famously says that the Torah tells us, Kedoshim Tiyu, you should be holy. Right? That means that even though a person could live within the letter of the law, they could still be a pretty disastrous person. For instance, you can give charity, right? One of the mitzvahs, you can give charity, but do it in a very backhanded, cold, impersonal way, and make the person who you were giving charity to feel like he's worthless, right? Or you can do it with a warm smile and a handshake, right? What's the difference between the two? At the end of the day, I gave charity. The difference is, one is working with the way of Ohev HaMeisharim, going lifnim mishuras hadin, going one step beyond what the letter of the law requires, and to really focus in on the spirit of the law. So number one of this is to recognize what the angel taught you. So how do we know when we say that we're supposed to be Oheves HaMeisharim, we're supposed to love the straight path? How do we know what the straight path is? So it says in Koheles that Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, wrote that Elokim asa es adam yashar, God made man straight. V'heim bikshu cheshbonos rabos, and they came up with many machinations. They came up with many calculations, right? He made us straight, and we come up with calculations. So the Gemara says about this that when we are in our mother's womb, an angel comes down from heaven and teaches us the entire Torah. All of the wisdom that there is in the world is taught to us while we're in the womb during those 9 months. Just before we're born, the angel taps us on the lip. That's where the philtrum comes from in Jewish consciousness, right? And we forget everything that we learned. However, we're pre-programmed with that natural wisdom, which means that our soul has the ability to identify what is real and what is true and what isn't innately. So amid the confusion of life, however, we cloud this inner judgment that's really within us all with all sorts of rationalizations. We bring in crooked values and distort the straight path, right, with our ego-driven preferences. So in order to straighten out this moral compass, we have to re-immerse ourselves in learning the truth of Torah, right? The further we delve into Torah, the more we learn about it, from it, the tighter we reconnect to what is straight inside of us, and the more easily we will recognize what isn't. So number two of this is to rise above rationalizations. In order to reconnect with what's proper, you have to work on eradicating the rationalization. So pay attention to that voice inside of you that deflects you from the straight and narrow path. Embrace the piercing truth that your inner guide recognizes before the excuses kick in. And stand up to false justifications. Be ruthlessly honest with yourself. So a couple of ways that we can do this are, one, if you find yourself challenged and you want to know if you're rationalizing, use way number 11, diktu chaverim, talk to friends, right? And ask someone, hey, am I thinking this through clearly or am I rationalizing? Other people have a much better way of seeing things coldly and impersonally than you do. One tool. Another tool, use way number 3, arichas vasayim, talk it out, as if you were giving advice to someone else about the same situation. Maybe not as great as talking to a friend, but in certain circumstances a very powerful tool to self-assess whether or not you're hearing the language in such a way that you recognize rationalization or you recognize the ultimate truth of what you're saying. Number 3 is can't versus won't, recognizing that there's a huge difference. One of our critical rationalizations is when we start to use language like I can't. What I can't does is it takes away the responsibility for your decisions. Well, what can I do? I simply can't, right? I'm powerless to do what's right. Now, I won't means that I have the ability, but I'm choosing not to do what's right. I don't really, in effect, I don't feel like it. So watch out for the excuses, the buts that come in. And every time you say, I want to do it, but, or I'd like to do it, but, or I wish I could do it, but, stop and really analyze the but and ask yourself, is that just a rationalization? When you catch yourself using the words I can't, practice changing it to I won't. Right? In some circumstances, even when you literally can't, use the word I won't instead. It'll help you kind of emphasize your control over the situation, which ultimately will lead to you making more appropriate and less rationalized decisions. Number 4 of this is to walk the straight path. So recognize that as we walk the straight path, we get tremendous, tremendous satisfaction from doing the right thing. And it builds tremendous character. So after you reach a decision, an amazing tool, stop for a second and ask yourself how you feel about the decision you just made. If you feel yourself feeling exhilarated by that decision, chances are you're on the straight and narrow. If you don't have hidden doubts or agendas, right, then you can feel clean about the decision you just made, and that'll be a great indication that it's within the bounds of the straight and narrow. So before you make a decision, ask yourself, how will this decision make me feel? Will I feel clean? Will I feel straight? Will I feel in touch with my inner truth? So a couple of ideas for applied wisdom. So one is to find some rationalizations that you use over and over and over again, and ask yourself, are they real given a specific circumstance, and how can I combat that rationalization? Number 2 of applied wisdom is ask yourself what specific actions you can take relative to people around you that go lifnim mishuras hadin, that go beyond the letter of the law and really encapsulate the spirit of the law. As we build these muscles, we in turn will begin to really identify more closely and more tightly with the truth that is inside each and every one of us.